Hey, welcome to the Cam and Otis Show. We're a father-son business podcast where we talk with other lifelong learners about making an impact and solving big problems. And we're fortunate enough to have Tara Nolan joining us today. And if the other Tara Nolan is listening, it's not you, it's this one. So Tara and I were laughing about that because there's a Tara Nolan here in Colorado Springs where I'm at, but it's not this one. Tara, how are you doing today?
I'm just wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Otis and Cam.
And you're not in Colorado Springs. You're in snowy Wisconsin, if I can remember that right.
I'm in like way north, northern Wisconsin. Like I'm not even too
Yeah.
far from the Canadian border. Yeah.
And folks, if you're a studier of slang and language like I am, you just picked up how she said Wisconsin that time and how it changed. It's a little bit different than the way I say it.
Yeah. But people in Wisconsin are the ones that say it correct, right? Because it's our state. So
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. Tara, I would love to just kick us off with what was the catalyst that got you shifted you to being a coach?
Well, we're getting right into it. So I'm going to go for it and just.
Oh yeah, there's no beating around the bush here.
It was one of the, if you've ever had one of those moments that in that moment you'll never forget it, it changes your life forever. It was that moment for me. I was in a corporate apartment in Chicago, owned a townhome in Milwaukee, was about 15 years into my corporate sales business at the time in regional management. I had been promoted, worked my way up, and I got a phone call that my friend had a motorcycle accident and suddenly died. And he was a childhood
Ooh.
friend since 5 years old. It's all right. And it was that moment when I not only mourned the loss of my friend, but I recognized mortality is real. And it could happen tomorrow. It's not always about age. It's not even always about disease. We don't know what it is. My friend literally got hit by an SUV. And I ride motorcycles and I used to ride with him. And in that moment, I made this promise to the heavens, just that my life would never be the same. And I didn't know what that meant, but I knew that my life was a struggle and I had been doing all the right things, climbing the corporate ladder after college and making, multiple six figures and looking really successful on the outside. But on the inside, it was a struggle. Sunday nights were, probably fighting back tears, really, if it wasn't like a pint of ice cream or a bottle of wine, like something. So it was like, that trying to escape. So in that moment, I just made this decision. I left it all. I left my career not knowing if, when, or how I would ever make that kind of income again. And my company said, "What can I do? Can we offer you more money? Can we give you another position?" I said, "Not this time. I'm not going to another company. I don't know what's next, but I'm not doing it." I left the company, I left the country, and I left a struggling relationship. And I traveled around the world solo. And then to get to the meat of your question, and I went to 3 different continents and did a few different countries in each. And at the end, I was in a yoga training in Bali, Indonesia. And I really reconnected with a part of me, I guess I didn't know was there. It was really my spiritual connection. And I developed this mission and purpose at that time that I needed to help others. And that's what led me to being a coach.
That's awesome because I love the fact that the purpose, and man, talk about guts to do the break from the 3 main things in your life. I mean, a relationship, your livelihood, and I already forgot the third one, but that's okay. I got 2 out of 3.
A country.
And country, yes, right, because you went on travel.
I went
And that's
places where I
just,
didn't
yeah.
speak the language. I went to places where I didn't speak the language, and they didn't speak English.
So were you running? Do you think you were running or were you seeking?
No, I was seeking, but I was seeking in a beautiful way. I was seeking adventure and learning. I
Mm.
wanted to understand different cultures and the way they lived, and I really needed a break from my business, my corporate position at the time, and I didn't want to just like hang around and do the same thing. I actually was seeking growth, and this felt like I wanted to, I didn't want to wait till someday to live when I'm retired someday. I wanted to like
Mhm.
live now and live out some dreams. And I had dreams to go to some of these places. I mean, I literally had to ask myself, where do I want to go in the world? And I couldn't decide because there were so many places I wanted to go. So I just decided I'm doing all of them. And that's what I did. I thought I've always wanted to go to Argentina. I'd never been to South America. I've heard that's cool. And I thought I've always wanted to. I've heard the Thai Islands are amazing. What about Australia and New Zealand? I hadn't been there. And I thought, well, why not? Eat, Pray, Love did it. I'm going to do my own. So I just went to all the places. I'd spend a month in each country that I wanted to go to because I wanted to like
Wow.
soak it up, not just go for like a little, vacation like a lot of us Americans do. I wanted to like experience it.
What do you think is the difference between going and like seeking that growth, like you said that you were consciously doing, versus Dad, what you kind of hinted at, which is the running? Because when people go through something that's really traumatic, it's there's a desire to go do those type of things. And it's a really fine balance of, okay, am I just ignoring the problem and just going to travel the world because then I don't have to think about it, and then as soon as you get home it hits you again? And then there's what you're talking about of like going and being conscious about that. Like, what do you think the difference maker is there?
It's it's simple and it's really important, Camden. And I love your question. It's about intention. The power of intention changes everything, and including how you live your life every single day. Like bringing the power of intention to your actions makes 1,000 times difference, in my opinion. So if you have it's an empowered way of being versus I can't deal with it, I can't think, I don't know what to do, I'm going to go and be lost, instead of or try to be found.
Right.
It wasn't that. I knew I was seeking healing, and I made choices in those travels to really continually seek out like the understanding of other cultures, as well as everything from doing cranial sacral on the beach, which is like energy work on your brain, to like top spas that had like transformational journeys, to the yoga. This was a yoga boot camp. This was not like a fun yoga retreat thing. This was like deep
Hmm.
level spiritual study and vegan raw eating and some fasting. And I did the same thing in the Thai Islands. I wasn't like out on a big party. I mean, not that that never happened, but I was most of the
Right.
time. Yeah, I was really like just wanting to fulfill some dreams and also get a deeper experience and educate myself in the, so setting out for the intention of education or the intention of I'm going to run away from my problems and escape feels very different. And like I said, I think it really
And with
correlates to
that,
the way you wake every morning.
hmm.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And with that, no, that's perfect. The other piece of curiosity there then becomes, okay, so then when you got back, was it the like a culture shock of you were immediately back, to start part of my language, but back in the shit right away, of you just like you, because that's what we think of so much when it's like, okay, hey, I'm gonna go spend a week on the beach and I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna feel better, and then you get back and it hits you right in the face as soon as you get back. Did you experience
No,
that at all, or do you think the
there was,
intentionality prevented that?
there was some culture shock, but I was changed. I was a changed person. I mean, I was gone for 9 months and I took an entire year off work. So when I came back, I still had 3 months, and I went to one of my favorite places in the world, which is, believe it or not, right here, long before I had this cabin. And it was a special place to me since childhood. And I spent some of our summer here on the lakes in northern Wisconsin, and it was really a great way to integrate. But I think for family and friends, it was maybe harder for them than for me because I was different and I wasn't doing the same things, and they were maybe feeling like left out. I didn't want to do the same like happy hours with everyone. I was getting up and meditating on the lake in the morning and doing a 90-minute yoga practice by myself. And it was just, and, spending a lot of time journaling and just a lot of inner work. And, that wasn't as typical in our culture. I think we're growing more and more towards valuing the inner work and recognizing, since the pandemic, even like people are looking at how they want to live their lives in a new way and what really matters to them. And that does bring that intentional living, but it takes the inner work to get there. So I had some decisions to make at that point about what was going to be next, because I knew I was going to be working again, but it was deciding which direction I wanted to take my life. And well, my last month of my trip, it was in Bali. And I'll tell you that moment. I had just hiked a volcano, an 11-hour hike. No kidding. It was hell. And just to get there at sunrise, it was crazy. I was exhausted. I came down and I, collapsed on a beach. And it was a really breakthrough moment as well. Another pivotal moment where I thought, what if I could do anything with my life? What would that look like? This was a very challenging task for me. It sounds like fun, right? But this was very challenging because I was so used to thinking with my left brain and being logical and doing the things I was supposed to do. And, I'm a Midwestern raised girl who was supposed to work hard and get ahead and, all of this. And here I was like, well, what if I could keep traveling? What if I could live anywhere in the world? Where would I live? What if I could do anything I wanted for a living? And again, the left brain's like, are you cracking up? Like, that's my dad's voice. Are you cracking up? Like, what are you thinking? What if I could like teach yoga and travel? Like, no way, you got to make money, So there's this fight that goes on in our brain, even when we want to leave our career or start something new. Like, does this make sense? Or is it, um, is it worth it? And are we going to fail? And that was all the struggle. But I decided for the first time in a very long time to allow myself to dream. And now I really recommend this process for people. And this is what I help people to do to manifest your dream life and business, because so many of us don't think outside the box. We don't dream again. And to know that you can be the creator or designer of your life. So that's what all that led me to. And when I came back, I was ready to create a life I loved and not settle for mediocrity or anything in between, anything less.
I'm always fascinated because that's awesome, but it always fascinates me with a corporate person
Yeah.
that's very structured. It's you show up at this time, you've got your calendar, your meetings, and you just said, nope, I'm stepping out, and went off on an adventure that sounds semi unplanned. Was it unplanned? I mean, was it I'm going to go and just go and see what I find, or
I set up my trip the way I live my life, which is that I have an outline and not a specific plan, but I knew I wanted to be in a different country each specific month, but I wanted to be able to have some flow. So if I'd run into someone that would say, hey, you need to go see this temple or climb this volcano or do this, go to this amazing restaurant, whatever. It wasn't like, no, I can't. I've got my structure all set. My plans are all set. I like some freedom, but I also wanted to know where I was going. So that's really a philosophy that I live by and really help my clients to see, because when we become too structured, I think we can miss out on great opportunities and we're not in flow, and our mind gets so connected to the outcome that we had planned that we can be disappointed over the smallest thing, like a restaurant being closed, right? Because it became important to us in our mind that we saw ourselves there when this is like not a big deal, but we're like, are you kidding me? I could see myself like eating that filet mignon. And instead being in the flow. But if you're so in the flow, like a lot of the yoga teachers, so I work with corporate people and yoga teachers, like then, you're so in flow, you really can't, make big progress and get ahead in your business and in success. And I'm a really driven individual because I'm so connected to my purpose and my mission, which is to support people in creating transformation and building their purpose-driven businesses.
where did the discipline come from? I'm
What are
sorry,
the
but so the discipline to, because, and this is probably a bad example, but addicts, right? Whether you're alcohol, drug, or whatever, right? They go to rehab, they get off the juice, whatever they're on, then they go right back to the same environment they were in, and they end up in the same boat. You went away, you did a 9 month, 12-month rehab, and you came back. How did you, what was the discipline that you set for yourself that you didn't fall right back into well, that was, nobody's hiring me, so I better go back to corporate?
It's connecting to your why. It really is, constantly, like why it matters, what's important to you. And if you, when I left corporate, it wasn't as hard as you'd think because I was I was burning out. Like I was definitely at burnout. Like I had to leave. And coming back, I actually came back to a very relaxed setting in corporate for a while I was building my business. So I came back to my company, but in a different position with different terms. And I negotiated something that worked so I would have the freedom to continue to invest in my studies in coaching and yoga and Eastern philosophy on deep level happiness. I wanted to continue on that mission, but I did want to replenish my bank account while I was building my business. So I don't, yeah, I mean, I think that you can be strategic about it. Like you don't just say, oh, I'm quitting everything and I don't have any kind of plan. Like I knew that I still was going to need some time to build that business and build some clientele and figure it out. So I did it in a way that was safe. But I'll tell you, it was harder to leave, believe it or not, the second time. I wasn't burnt
Mm.
out and I was having trouble leaving. It was really losing an identity that had given me a lot of accolades and a lot of confidence. And I thought, what is it about that I can't leave this career again? I've done it before. Like, am I that connected to the money? I don't think of myself that way, but it was very hard. And, but I did it. And, it doesn't take too long and you get right into your new way of life and you just get really connected to the why behind the why behind the why, why it really matters to
That's,
you.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then it's all about your
You
heart.
start to realize you're doing it for yourself and how powerful that is. And it's not in a selfish way, because that's the other thing I'm hearing from you is a very giving person. And when you step out to do something that you want to do, it can feel selfish. And I was just thinking, what this popped into my head as you were talking about leaving the second time, is what was the gap that you felt when you decided, when you left the second time? You had a much better setup, uh, but there's always a gap in that identity or something else. And how'd you replace it?
I'm sorry, what do you mean by there was a gap in that identity to go to the next, like that, that in between? I mean, I guess explain that a little more.
So, in other words, you're successful in corporate, right? In corporate world, you've got a team, you've got responsibilities, you have,
Yeah.
do these things, Tara, we need you to do these things by next week, or whatever uh, things those are going on. But when you step out into Tara the coach now instead of Tara the executive, there's a gap in that's gone. There's something, whether it's the
It's a loss.
identity or
It's a
the
loss.
activity or what.
Yeah, it's definitely a loss. And it does take some time to get clear on how you're going to rebuild that and find that in your life. And now I'd say looking back, and what advice I'd give to anyone is that you will get there. And the beauty is all of these experiences in my life now come together for what I do. I take this holistic approach to modern business. So I don't only use all my yoga and Eastern philosophies on finding happiness and tuning into your purpose, but I use everything I learned in corporate and in sales And I'm so grateful for that experience, because now I do run it somewhat like an executive, but I work from my home and my log cabin in the woods. And I have a team of, people that I love to work with. And I, could run the meetings the way I would have in corporate, but on my terms. And I know how to, hire and build a team and manage a team. And I know how to sell, and I know how to, do marketing strategy, and, set up an infrastructure that really allows my dream life, rather than saying this is the structure you're given. I get to create the structure of my business. And that's a dream. So I would say any experience you've ever had in life plays a part in your purpose. So whether you are looking at the tragedies, the celebrations, the business experience, the degrees you've had, the certifications, the accolades, all of it comes together and leads you to your purpose. And that's how I feel it's all come together for me. I use all of it. And that's how it's like, what I do for a living is authentic to me. It's spiritual, it's business, it's healthy, it's and it's empowering. So it's like, you wouldn't know that all these would go together, but they do in what I do. And you can do that. You can create it.
So this might not be very answerable, but I want to go there. So as you're talking about the loss of identity there, I thought back to one with Tribe and Purpose. We've talked about veterans transitioning out, that loss of identity. I talk about it in my Next is Best program of college athletes, and you lose that chunk of your life that you were an athlete for so long, and then it's gone. And I was thinking about this because after I lost that identity, I got my identity as an entrepreneur. And what I'm kind of starting to think now as I'm hearing you talk is that's not the answer. It's not picking your next identity. It's almost lack of identity. And I don't know if that's the best way to put it. That's what I mean, where I feel like it's almost not answerable. But it's almost that you don't want to identify with those things, because then as soon as you do that, you're tying yourself down to that one point. And then if there is a radical change in your life, then you're going to go through that loss again. Whereas what you were talking about the second time around seems like it's more like you weren't identifying as entrepreneur. You weren't identifying as coach. You were just like, I'm me. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that it is exactly what you're saying. It's tuning inward. So in my studies, there are these layers to us. They're called the koshas. And this is through a 5,000-year-old study that were writings back in the Vedic time period in the East. And at the center of this, whether it's your physical layer, your thinking layer, your intuitive layer, all of this, you get down to the center, which is called Anandamaya Kosha. And at the center of that is your bliss layer. Bliss. We're talking the highest enjoyment of divinity. What lives there is called the Atman. The Atman is the soul. To me, this is the only identity you have. It is not any masks that you portray. It's not all these outer layers. But when you tune inward, you can connect with your soul, and that is your authentic self. And that's how you live your truth. There's this word also in Sanskrit called dharma. Dharma is, you guys would like this word. Maybe you know it. It's synonymous with purpose, life purpose, but it's also synonymous with truth. Because you're translating these Sanskrit words and they have multiple meanings to explain them in our language today. So Dharma is living your truth in alignment with your soul calling. And that is what I help people to do. And that is what I recommend, because I believe it is the path, the only real path to true happiness and fulfillment. So it's not about a label on your identity, right? I mean, I don't believe in labels. I don't even want to label myself like a way of eating, like a vegetarian. And then one day I want to have meat and people are like, oh my God, what are you said you're a vegetarian. I saw you eating a burger. I mean, you know what? Maybe I can say I prefer vegetarian. I prefer vegetables a lot. I like them. Like just be who you are. It doesn't have to be that we fit into these certain roles or identities, because you are authentic and you are unique. So it's only what your soul calls for. Does that help? I hope that helps answer that question.
Yeah, definitely. I think that really does. And but it does raise one other question, which as we look at these we're where really it's always like you're trying to systemize something that can't be systemized, but I'll ask the question anyway. Of is there so the loss of identity seems like it is the mechanism that moves you forward in that, and what I mean by that is it's almost like you need to have these three losses of identity in order to reach the point where it's like, okay, hey, now I get it. Like, do you agree with that at all, or do you think it's something to where if you take enough time you can do this earlier? Like, and what I mean by that is there's so many different things when it comes to big things like purpose and identity and that kind of stuff, where I'm here as the 27-year-old and I hear people talk about this and I'm like, okay, hey, that sounds great, but I don't want to wait 20 years. Like, and not that I need the microwave solution to get it now, but it's like, okay, well, what's the path forward with this, where you're figuring out a way forward without forcing yourself to go through failures or loss of identity or those type of things. Ideally, you can avoid as much of that as possible.
Yeah, and I have my answer is, it feels very clear to me, and it is do the work. So do you have to go through all of these things? No. Those things that happen to you in life happen for you to lead you to your purpose and where you're meant to be, that they are all here to serve you when you're seeking. However, if you have to take the time and put in the work and the effort to access the Atman, the soul, to go through all of those layers, to go deeper within. You can't just expect to get there, right? You have to there's another, I keep coming up with these words with you today, but Svadhyaya is study of the self. You have to do the study. It's the self-study, like being out having cocktails with your friends that maybe are barely even friends. They're just there because you've known them forever and they're acquaintances, but you never go deep and you never have deeper conversations. Maybe you and I can get to know each other, in an even more meaningful way right here, right now. And we've not really met before this. Then you can some of those friends that there's that small talk with forever, right? So when you spend all of your time doing these things, you're never going to go to deeper layers of you and get to know who you really are. So if you want to fast track it, you put in the time and do the work, and that's working on the relationship.
And I think that's the difference too, right? I mean, because you put in the time. I put in the time because I went through a similar thing, although they didn't take 9 months off traveling the world. Miss Suzanne would have liked that. She would have had a good time traveling the world for 9 months. I can guarantee you that. No promises, Miss Suzanne, when you listen to this show too. But it's you still follow the path, a process.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point of it. Some of us, the process is 30 years. Others can find it much earlier in life. But the truth is, you have to trust the process. You have to follow the path. You have to do the work and put it in to get there. There's no shortcuts to it. I think is the bottom line with this. You can't just say, "Yep, here we go. This is my purpose. This is what I'm going to do." I had this conversation with a veteran this morning about this same thing. Is, hey, dude, it may not be right, but you'll never know whether it's right or not unless you do it, right? And that's the beauty of what you did. You took that risk, which is always. This is my other thing with corporate people, is like, that's some risky stuff you took right there, and it's not just corporate people like me too, strategic planners that I did for years. It's like, ooh, risk. That's, go to a foreign country and don't have a plan, just going to be there for a while. Whoa. How do you,
it's scary.
Do you feel like your risk acceptance has changed in that sense?
Yeah. I mean, once you do that, like, you're not as scared to do other things. Like, I'm not going to be nervous about going to a restaurant by myself. I've traveled the world alone. Like, I can go to a movie alone. I can go, like, those are little things that people sometimes feel like, I don't know if I would do that. But I think what you said, I wanted to comment on what you said about, if there's any shortcut. You said there's not. I think there's a little bit, if you want to have a little bit of a shortcut, in my opinion, it's really listening to the voice within. So you can ignore that voice and then you'll keep going. And then you're taking the long way. And some people, you said it may take 30 years or whatever. I think some people take their whole life and never get there. They never really, I
Yeah.
think a lot of
Yeah.
people do. I believe that I'm an old soul. I'm an empath, and I was drawn to this at a young age. So already, I would say upper 20s, maybe 30s, I started seeking out different, studies of self, just different transformational journeys to I didn't know what it was, the voice within, what I was being called to, but I listened to it. Even that yoga training in Indonesia 15 years ago, I didn't know what it was, but I was called to it. Most people don't listen to the voice. I'm called to go to Thailand. I'm just going to go. I'm called to move to Wyoming and hang on a ranch. And I did that, like I'm just called to go to California last year. We lived there for 6 months, and my daughter and I, and when I'm called, I follow it. And I think I think there's, spiritual guidance in that, in the source within you. But that is your path to healing and soul evolution.
I think
I
it's
know, I'm a little
interesting
deep.
talking about like shortcuts. No, it's good. I was just gonna say, talking about the shortcuts, it's interesting because it's like, I think a lot of people use the analogy of like, climbing the mountain. There's all these different paths up the mountain. The shortcut, you still got to climb the damn mountain. Like you're not eliminating that. It might be the most direct route. It might be slightly less steep than the other paths. It might not be those pitfalls. Those loss of identity and those type of things. But it's still a lot of work. And I think that's the piece there, because too often I think we look for the shortcut because not because we don't want to do the work, but because we want to improve upon the system. I think it's not that I don't want to put in that work, but it's like I said earlier, it's like I don't want to wait 30 years. Like, come on, like we got to figure out shave that down. And like I said, if you think about it in the terms of the shortcut, you're still putting in the work to get up that mountain. Instead of 30 years, it's 5 years, 2 years, whatever it is. But it depends on, back to your point, Dad, the discipline that you have and the discipline you have in the work and the amount of effort you're putting into it. It's like. I'm blanking on it. And Tara, you might actually know this off the top of your head. Dad, I've referenced this story like 3 times, and I always forget the guy's name. But it's like the monk who sat in the cave for like 5 years or something along those lines. I'm completely butchering this now. But it's like you go, and if you're trying to find peace and meditate in everyday life, yeah, it's going to take you 5-10 years because you're getting pushed and pulled all these different directions. The shortcut is go sit in the cave for a year and then process it that way, and then you can move forward. Like, that's your shortcut, but it's still a year of that working at that higher rate. And I think that's an interesting piece there.
Well, I think another shortcut, now that we're on it, is getting support. Like, stop trying to figure it out on your own. Stop trying to do it on your own. That's where, I believe in having a coach. I believe in having a spiritual guru leading you, having a mentor, a guide. People that have walked this path before you that can lead you there. If you're not like seeking that out and you're not reading the books, learning from the gurus, you're not going to just figure it out on your own. Like, that's why I always have a coach myself, and I obviously believe in it being a transformational coach. And I think it's important if you want that kind of growth, and for whatever it is you want to do, whatever it is, building a business, someone else has figured this problem out before.
I want to jump on something. I think it'd be great to hear you define what transformation means.
I think an example of transformation, as many people think of it, is going from the cocoon to the butterfly. And that is being in this uncomfortable state and staying there in the cocoon, so to speak. And then it's not easy to break out of that cocoon. Like, it hurts. And if you break out too soon, they say if you open the cocoon too soon, the butterfly's wings are not developed and they will die. They can't actually fly. But to get to that point that you're doing the work and having the personal growth, so you can get to this point of spreading your wings and flying and having this beautiful life and enjoying the journey, that's where you're putting in the work in between. So I think transformation is really changing in shape or form, and we change in a desired way, and we change our identity. We change as people. We evolve as souls in this personal growth, and it's truly becoming a new, different, hopefully better version of ourselves. And I find that I find that in building my business. I find it's been one of the most beautiful transformational journeys and personal growth paths I've ever imagined, and it's awesome.
That's
Which,
go ahead.
all right, go ahead, Kim, because I got another corporate question, but
I'm all good.
that's me. I always go back to the
You guys are
corporate
so
boring
fun.
stuff.
I love being with you on this.
So what I was thinking is, you talk about that transformational process, and I think there's this really interesting thing that reminds me of, which is when we talk about, finding purpose, discipline, all these different things. There's all these different ways that people find it. And I don't even know the source of this phrase, so I'm paraphrasing, but the phrase along the lines of, you find your path to purpose, you find your path to success, then you can find others to show them your path. Not everyone's going to go down that same path, but you can find the path and,
Right.
shine that light for others. What do you think is the best path? Meaning, if you were going to hey, I'm clipping this to go out on social media next week, what is the thing that anyone can do to go down this path? We talk about rugby for me, Dad, your time in the Army, learned so many life lessons. I know not everyone should go play rugby to learn those life lessons. My back still hurts, right? You don't need to go down that path. It's not the best path. So what do you think is, as best as you can answer it, that path?
You froze for just a second at the end, but I heard the majority. But you said, what do I think? Could you just repeat the last few words? I want to make sure I got it.
Yeah. So just of what do you think that best path is? As best as you can answer it, of course, because it's to each their own. But let me put it this way:
That's the point.
my rugby example, that's a footpath. What's the highway? What's the highway that more people can take? Not everyone can take it. Some people are scared of the highway, but it works for a lot of people.
Well, yeah, I'm really going to go back to what I said before about tuning within. And that's where you do have someone that's leading and guiding you. So as a transformation coach, I really guide my clients to take an honest look at life right now about what's working and what's not working. People don't often want to admit to themselves what's working, what's not working. We look at every aspect of life. And then the next step is to get an ideal vision. What would be the dream? Where would you want to go? And that's the only way you can see what your heart your heart desires and your soul is calling for to go down that path. But it starts with knowing that something in life needs to change. And that's that honest part. We want to tell ourselves everything's fine and not face the facts when a marriage isn't working, when a career isn't working, but it's still paying the bills, when a living situation's not working, when health isn't right. We don't want to look at that often. And I'm saying you have to look at it because awareness is your key to healing, and it will guide you to the next steps. And then you get to open up to new possibilities.
And that's a powerful place
wherever that leads you,
to live
that will be your path.
and be. I mean, that's where happiness is, right? You're satisfied, you're happy, you're fulfilling that. We had a new friend of ours, Vikrant, on a few weeks ago, and Vikrant is a publisher, and we were talking about AI and AI writing books and things like that. And I'm kind of curious what your philosophy is, not on AI, but where you see the coaching industry style that you have going forward.
Coaching will be a billion-dollar industry. Coaching is going to continue to grow. It's becoming more and more powerful as coaches are up-leveling their craft, and more people are opening up to the power of having a coach. So I think that you will you will see a continual growth of this, because I'll give you an example. It wasn't long ago when I was, just think even 10 years ago, but certainly 20 years ago, yoga was this weird kind of crazy thing that some people did to put their foot behind their head, and we didn't see a lot of it. Now, I mean, when I started like
Yeah.
teaching yoga, my dad was like, "What's that?" Now there's a yoga studio on every corner, just like there's a coffee shop. You go down the street and people have their yoga bags on their back. That happened quick, if you think of it. I mean, really. And the coaching industry is the same way. It's the next yoga right now. So that's because it is so powerful in changing people's lives. I've had people work with me that said, I've been through years and years of therapy, and this is a game changer in like a session. I mean, it's just a different way of working with people, and it's valuable. That's why it will grow.
I think
Obviously, I
kind
love
of
it.
just
I love
since
it.
you can't hide that,
Yeah.
right? No, I was just going to say in the AI conversation to kind of bring it back to what we said with Vikrant, one of the interesting things is that you're going to get the splitting of the market. And as much as smart as AI can get, the coaching on AI is going to be there, and that's going to be the $5 a month, and you can type in your questions, and it can tell you what to do. That'll be there. Shoot, you could probably do that now with ChatGPT if you asked it the right things. But then I love what you're saying, Tara, of the difference there of the personal connection and having that, like, that's when you're looking at the future of things, the personal thing is always going to be the thing that lasts, right? And I think that's such an important piece when it comes to the coaching, is those personal touches and those type of things, because you're going to get way more impact out of it than any algorithm or anything ever could.
The algorithms, the AI is never going to know where you are emotionally blocking yourself from success. So even if you're following every step to, the structure of the business or the marketing with social media ads or whatever pathway you choose to follow to build your business, for example, I'm sorry, but it's not going to work if you don't have the energetic output, and that comes from your emotions. There was actually, Otis will get a kick out of this, I think. There was a time in my business when I was just a year or so into my coaching business and more of a high level coaching, and I stopped getting new clients, and I wondered why. And I'll tell you, through some work with a coach, I recognized I was blocking clients because it started reminding me of corporate America. And although, of course, I wanted clients and I wanted more money, I was making that synonymous with more stress. I had no idea I was doing this. So your subconscious mind is so powerful, right? It's responsible for, like they say, 80 to 90% of the decisions or what happens in your life. So if that's true, then you have to be able to control or manipulate the subconscious mind to support you in your goals, or it will sabotage you. And there is such a thing as self-sabotage that we all do, and we don't know why we do it. This is where, for example, a coach can support you, because he or she can help you see from the outside what you can't, looking in, what you can't see from the inside looking out. And that's uncovering those self-limitations, sabotage behaviors, and blocks to the next level of finances, the next level of success, hiring the more people, moving from one-on-one to group coaching, starting to charge tens of thousands of dollars for your packages, all of that. It's not so much about what AI can tell you, this is the typical price, so this is what you can charge. Because if you don't have the energy behind it that you believe it's worth that price, you will never sell it.
I had one more quick question. I had to get this talking about the traveling and all of that. I too have had my daydreams of traveling, and I share the 1 month rule. I've always talked about that with my wife. If I would love to go, not even talking the whole world, but like even just every state for a month, and just experiencing those different cultures and those type of things. So I got to ask, because you're probably the best perspective on this I could get. is 1 month enough? What's the we talking 30 days? If you do 45 days, is it that much better? Like what's the number if you're planning this out to really get, immersed like you're talking about?
I mean, the more time, the better. Obviously, if you spend a year somewhere, you're going to have a much different perspective than spending a weekend. I'm giving you the vast difference here. But I think I actually think 30 days is a pretty good amount. You start to feel a little settled in, you get in a little rhythm, you know your places you like to go. I mean, I acclimate pretty quickly. I just check out a place and I do my research right away and um, settle into it. So I think um, I think you gotta trust yourself though, because you'll be called to. I feel like I don't know why, but I feel like 45 days. I don't know why. I feel like we need to spend 3 months. I feel like I want a year,
Yeah.
in this new state, or 30 days. I mean, I think a week or 2 week is more of a vacation.
That's when
And
you
when you
start to
get
know which
beyond
street
that,
vendor to
you
get your
start to,
tacos
get to know
from,
people,
or
experience more the
your
culture of the
man.
area.
I can't think of what it was called. The breakfast omelet sort of thing that I used to get in Kampala, Uganda. Uh, but it was like this one lady. You only went to that one lady. You didn't go to any of the other ones because you never know what you're getting. But you went to her.
Yeah.
And, that's that part of that discovery, right?
Yeah. That's so fun. And that's so fun to start to understand the different cultures. And I think we can learn so much from the different cultures of the states and of the countries of the world, and really start to see that there's not a separation of us and them, that we are all one, and we can grow so much more by embracing the different cultures, the various cultures, and realize there's not one way of success, there's not one way of living. And that's how you can also access the authentic self, going back to that and your purpose, because you're not just stuck in this one way that you learned.
No,
You're learning all these different ways and saying, but now
that
which one
is
to me?
so
What feels like
powerful to
me?
think about.
What feels
And
like would light
I'm
me
sitting
up
there
inside?
daydreaming about a couple of things with that, which is a great way to round us out with that powerful message that guess what? We're all humans. You know, we're all the same, and we're different in being the same. And I think that's the really cool thing. And it's so
Mhm.
much fun to learn from other people, to see other cultures, to experience it. And I'm not talking
Yeah.
necessarily about the National Geographic stuff, but those are kind of cool. But I'm talking about the little old lady who had the little roadside stand, about 300 meters down from my house in Kampala. I mean, that's what's cool about it. And and that's always a great thing to remember. And but for me, uh, I love the thought of the holistic approach to modern business, because I'm a believer also in there's no such thing as a work life balance. It's all life. So that's right there in line with what I believe also is that holistic approach to modern business. That's a powerful line to think about and maybe meditate on a little bit. Camden, how about you? What do you learn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was interesting as we, that little bit of the conversation around AI stuff. I had this, kind of little bit of an epiphany of, what we're talking there of, it's like, yeah, you can use it for these different things, but if you're lying to yourself, then it's not going to work. Just like all these other solutions that we can put out in front of you and recommend aren't going to work, because it's you and yourself. That's what it really comes down to. So if you're totally honest, yeah, you could probably get AI to coach you. But for a lot of people, you're probably going to need that personal touch to call you out on your
Tara, how
BS and
about
all
you?
those
What'd
types
you
of
learn?
things. Because, yeah, if you're lying to yourself, you're not going to make that progress.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first of all, I've learned and appreciated how aligned that we are in our beliefs in really tribe and purpose. I love what you guys are all about. And it's really interesting that we've all taken, the three of us here have taken completely different paths to get to a place of this really serious commonality and mission, and in sharing with people how important it is to tune into your purpose and have your tribe. And I often call it Transformation Tribe, my transformation coaching, like, because I love the whole tribes together. And it's if more of us continue to put the work into ourselves, we evolve as a planet and we make the world a better place. And I love that you guys are doing that. So I learned that how
That's
we
awesome.
can be so different.
That's awesome.
And yet
How do folks
our
find you,
hearts
connect
have
with you,
such a
see what y'all
similar,
got going
beautiful
on
mission
next?
to support one another? I am Transformation Tara at transformationtara.com. You can find me on Instagram at transformation.tara or Tara Nolan, Nolan, on Facebook. And I'd also recommend that you go to manifestmydreamlife.com to download a free blueprint of my
That's awesome.
philosophy.
That's awesome.
And
Well,
5
Tara,
steps
this has
to support
been
you in manifesting your
a
own
deep,
dream life and
thought-provoking
business.
conversation, and we truly appreciate you hanging out with us today and sharing with us before you have to go out and do some more shoveling. So thank you for being here with us, Tara.
Yeah.
Camden,
Thank you for
turn
having
us
me.
out.
You guys are a blast, and just really beautiful energy from both of you. Thank you so much. So, thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank y'all for listening to the Cam and Otis Show, and a special thanks to our guest, Tara Nolan, for joining us today. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to pass along to someone else so they can enjoy it too. Make sure to follow the Cam and Otis Show on Facebook and Instagram. And you can watch full videos of the show on our YouTube page. And while you're there, hit that subscribe button too. As always, a full archive of our episodes is available at www.camandotisshow.com. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all next time.